Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our weekly Make Money Now coaching call. As always, I am Coach Chris Weaver, and we are coming to you live from Dallas, Texas, and it is Christmas Eve, I believe day 2 of Hanukkah. And I'm going to take you into the eyes and give you the eyes of a real estate consultant when looking at your own business. This is the time of the year when all of us go back and get very reflective on the previous year and come up with all these crazy things that we're going to do next year. And I am going to help you see what we as real estate consultants do and coaches do in helping a team or agent in evaluating their previous year so that they can go into the next year. So I'm going to teach you how to be your own consultant, or at least give you some insight into how to be your own consultant. To give you a little bit of my background, I was the #1 new agent in Florida in 2005, 2006. I've sold over 120 million in a single year. I've listed 120 properties in a single year. I am a national trainer and coach. I have owned 3 different brokerages. I've worked with every major brand. I am the former chief operating officer of The Real Recruiter and Chet Black Solutions. And I am also a former Tom Ferry coach. And where I'm going to take you today, I'm going to be drawing from my more than 20 years of experience, both in the corporate world and in the real estate world, about how to dig in and evaluate and analyze where we are and what we're doing. And so there's a 3-step process that I always follow. And the first is I collect data. And I'm a data fiend, and I'll show you what data I collect. But I collect as much data as I possibly can. And I would say that one of the things that is so important to this process is to do it each step at a time, because if we don't, we're going to make some incorrect conclusions and send ourselves spinning. And I'll point out some things that a lot of people do that actually get in the way of them successfully evaluating what they're doing and how they're doing it. So the first thing is you want to collect data, and we'll get into some very specific detail about what data to collect and how to collect it. Next, we want to go to analyzing the data and really digging in and figuring out what the data means. And I'll show you how to do this. And the third step of the process, which is, we're not going to cover this today, the third step in the process is to create a plan going forward based on the data analysis that we have done. So next Monday is when we are going to be creating our 1 month, 3 month, 1 year plan for next year, and I'll show you how I do that and how I do that for my coaching clients. So today we're going to talk about collecting data and analyzing the data first, and then next week we're going to dig into actually creating the plan. So here's what I want you to think about is there are certain resources that you have that are limited. And when we look at our performance, we need to be very, very precise in understanding what's going on in our life and also what's going on in specifically our real estate business. So what I want you to do is I want you to collect this data, your total income from every source. So, and I'll throw this out to you. So let's say you receive, let's say you're a single mom and you receive child support. Let's say you have income on investment property that you do. Let's say you have different side hustles. If you are an EXP agent like I am, let's say you participate in revenue share. But what you need to do is be collecting data from every source and bring that together so that you can see what your total income is and then have it broken down by source. And so one of those areas is going to be my real estate business. So The first step in this is to collect this data. So we've got our information, we've got our numbers, how much money have I made from my real estate business, and I want to break that down and I want to collect data. Okay, how many closed transactions have I done? And then I want to break it down by how many listings, closed listings, and what that financial number is, how many buyers, what that financial source is, and then any other real estate related income. So if you are, let's say, an EXP mentor and you get mentorship fees, or let's say you do some property management, so you got some property management income that's coming in. Let's say you also do leases. Or apartment locating. So you collect that data and have them in separate categories. And then for each of those categories, so my listings, my buyers, what I want you to do is then break it down even further so that you're sourcing every dollar in each of those areas. And what I want you to do in this process is document every marketing dollar as well by lead source. So let's say you've broken down and you said, okay, listings, and this past year I did 10 listings. What I want you to do is look at each listing to see where that listing came from. So, each listing one by one, oh, okay, I got this listing because of a referral from a former neighbor. I got this listing and it was a past client, and this listing was the neighbor of a past client, and this listing was from my farm area, and this listing was from a Zillow come list me, or whatever the case may be, and break down each listing by source. And then also, I want you to go and I want you to look at your budget for the past year, your expenses for the past year, so that you're documenting every marketing dollar that you have spent in the past 12 months, so that you can see where those marketing dollars compare to the income dollars later on when we're talking about analysis. So document your sources, source every dollar, document every marketing dollar by lead source, and then also document all of your marketing activities. So this would be where you're documenting the time spent, not every hour, but so your marketing activities by a lead source. So if I got 10 listings, and let's say I got 3 listings from doing mega open houses, then you would want to document those activities. So this is what I did around mega open houses, and this is what happened with my listings that I got from my mega open houses. And then also document all of your prospecting. So if you did, circle dialing and inviting around your mega open houses, then I want you to document what each of those prospecting activities you did within each of those sources, within each of your categories, within your breakdown. And it's going to give you, as you do this, a very good understanding of where you're spending your dollars, where you're spending your time, so that when we go to analyze, we can get a good understanding of what we're doing and what we've done. And so now, as we continue to collect data, it's very important that we understand our core 4 lead sources. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to break down each of the core 4 and what questions we need to be asking ourselves and how we need to be looking at our core 4. So number 1 within our core 4 is our center of influence. So referrals are the lifeblood of our business. There are coaching companies, Joe Stumpf, Brian Buffini, who this is the only thing they focus on within the entire world of real estate. And I have very, very dear friends who, and I'm sure some of you might be in the same situation, but very dear friends who they will not take a new client on unless it is a referral from a previous client. And they only work by referral. By referral only, that's Joe Stumpf's company, right? So referrals are the lifeblood of our business. We want to be analyzing our center of influence and really looking at how big was my database last year, And then what was my growth percentage? So let's say I had, a total of 200 people in my database last year. At the end of the year last year, this year I've got 250. That means I net added 50 people to my database. And we want to be looking at how did we add people to our database? How do those people come into our database when it comes to our center of influence? And then I want you to go and I want you to break down what are the things that you did, what are the activities that you had, that you worked around your center of influence. So, how many appreciation events did you have? What were the activities around your appreciation events? I did circle dialing. I did pop buys. So how often are you doing pop buys? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Was everybody in your database or only certain people in your database by pop buys? And then also one of the other things I like to look at is how many handwritten cards. So when I break down within my core 4, in addition to my prospecting, which we'll talk about, the 3 things for me that are central to working my center of influence are appreciation events, pop buys, and handwritten cards. So obviously you have everybody in your center of influence on automated drip email campaigns. You might be doing a newsletter. I actually just got one. Shout out to Patty Donovan. Just got a really cool newsletter that Patty's doing, and I'm going to reach out to her and tell her how good it is. But these are things that you should be doing, but ultimately, if you're not doing appreciation events and pop buys and handwritten cards and calling your sphere, your center of influence, then you're probably not working it the way you should. So let's look at what we did last year when it comes to pop buys, handwritten cards, appreciation events, and how that relates into the rest of your center of influence. So then we're going to go and we're going to look as well at our geographic farm. So the core 4, which is it's a Tom Ferry concept, talks about how the core 4 lead sources for successful agents are our center of influence, geographic farm, mega open houses, and I do this every now and again, mega open houses, and I think I hit something that I shouldn't have, and online leads. So let me go ahead and see why this has knocked me out. Sorry about that, everybody. Let me go ahead and see if I can get my slides to reload. Sorry, everybody. Oop. Let me go ahead and cancel that. I'm going to go ahead and stop share for just a quick second. Give me 2 seconds here so I can try and find out what's going on with my PowerPoint there. I think I knocked it out of presentation mode. I'm just going to reopen it and then restart the share. So if you're watching the video of this, this is how you know it's live, because live things happen that you don't necessarily want to have happen. And I'm going to go ahead and I've restarted my PowerPoint. And so now I'm going to go and share that screen. Boom. And let me just go ahead and I'll pop forward through. Sorry about this. Just going through so I get back to my current slide. I'm sure there's an easier way I could have done this, but this is what happens. I was all excited that I was able to start the call on time this week and learning how to shifting from doing meetings to webinars within Zoom, and then this happens. So, but it's okay. So the second in the core 4 that we want to dig into is in understanding is our geographic farm. So the first thing I want you to, so if you're not farming, put this aside. If you are farming, even if it's minimal farming, I want you to think about this to start off. What is your market share? What is your current market share? When you look back at the past 12 months, what percentage of the business in your neighborhood did you do? And I want you to know what those numbers are. So how many total listings in the neighborhood? How many did I have? how many buyers in the neighborhood, what's the total value of my farm, right? So let's say you've got 400 homes in your farm. When you run the numbers for the past years, how many deals were there total in your farm? How many total commission dollars were there in your farm? Did you get all the listings in your farm that you wanted? There's a difference between not taking your listing because it's for whatever reason, but did you get all the listings in your farm that you wanted? Are you the preferred realtor for your neighborhood? So are people putting things on the market and not even talking to you? Or are they purposely not talking to you? Maybe you need a new farm. Maybe you've pissed off so many of your neighbors that you just need a new farm. How many appreciation events did you do within your farm? Community events, community appreciation events. Should be doing one a quarter. How many pop buys have you done within your farm? So how many of the people in your farm did you meet face to face? And I say you need to be doing pop buys and appreciation events every quarter. And then also the same question is how many handwritten cards? So the people in my farm area, I want to get something from me personally in writing at least once a quarter. I want to do pop buys once a quarter, and I want to do appreciation events once a quarter. And a lot of times my handwritten cards are invitations to my appreciation events, if that makes sense. So these are some of the things that you want to be talking about in collecting data within your geographic farm. And obviously, you know, you're documenting every other thing you did within your farm, how much money you spent. If you're doing mailers, what money did you spend on mailers, frequency of your mailers, all of those things. Let's just bring this data in and start looking at it, right? So mega open houses. How many mega open houses was I doing per month? Then I'm going to give you some really good questions to ask yourself within this. How many listings did you get from open houses? Because I'll tell you this, so yes, you're going to get unrepresented buyers at open houses, and you're going to work with them, and we're going to look at that when you're going through and detailing, you know, as a lead source, mega open houses and buyers that you got, but also how many listings did you get from open houses? Did you use the open houses that you did as a beachhead in the communities where that open house was? Did you turn this into a farming event? You know, do you overlap your mega open houses and your farming events, right? So how many non-visitors? This is a great question. So this is one of the questions I ask my coaching clients. This is a Tom Ferry question. How many non-visitors did you add to your database from your mega open houses? So, wait a second, Chris. If they didn't show up at my mega open house, how could I add them to my database? Well, here's what I'll tell you. If you are marketing your open house properly, you're meeting a lot of the neighbors, even if they don't come to the open house. From your door knocking, from your circle dialing, from your Joe Stump knocking, from all of those other things that you're doing around your mega open house, you should be adding non-visitors to your database. So so here's a great thing. So if you did 50 open houses last year, one a week, and you added 0 listings and you added 0 non-visitors to your database, you're not working your mega open houses well enough as listing events, right? And so the whole purpose of the analyzing this data is so we know what to work on, right? We know how to make our plan for next year. So how many, this is my favorite question around open houses. How many open house signs did you lose in the past 12 months? So when I order open house signs, people laugh at me, but when I order open house signs, I usually order them by 500. Because if you're not losing 10 to 20 open house signs a week, that's a lot. That's 1,000 a year, right? If you're not losing that many every week, you're probably not putting enough out, right? So how many open house signs did you lose in the past 12 months? How many different vendors did you partner with at your open houses? So I use open houses as an event to work with new vendors and create relationships with these new vendors, right? So how many different vendors did you partner with? So how many local pizzerias, how many roofers, how many banks, how many title companies, how many insurance companies, how many home warranty companies? These are all vendors that I partner with at my mega open houses. How many non-standard open houses have you done? So for me, there's mega open houses that have got non-standard open houses. When I say non-standard open houses, these are open houses that are not happening on the weekend. And these are open houses that I'm usually doing, let's say, a Thursday night wine and cheese. Or I just snapped when I did it. That was cute. So, Thursday night wine and cheese. I will do a Tuesday 10 to 12, get to know the neighborhood, right? Different times and different days of the week, you actually interact with different people. So how many non-standard open houses did you do with your mega open houses? Next, we want to look at our online leads. How many leads did you bring in? And what was your average cost per lead? So based on source. So let's say you're doing Make It Rain. You should be able to go into KV Core, pull out for the past year, look at how many leads came in, how much did I pay total to Make It Rain, and what was my cost per lead, right? So for every single online lead source, if you're doing Facebook ads, then Facebook ads the same way. And here's the thing, if you're doing multiple Facebook ads, this is some analytics that you should be doing on an ad by ad basis so that you can be up in your ad game and doing better ads, right? So how many and how much, right? What's my cost per lead? Now, here are the questions that I ask my coaching clients. Tell me about your follow-up system. Tell me about your incubation system. So here's one of the things that we know. The lower the cost of the lead, the longer the lag time. So if you're not paying a whole lot of money for leads, you're probably getting people when they're very early on in that house hunting space. So you have a really good incubation system if you're going to turn them into leads, right? So usually when I look at any lead source, I want to look at it for at least 6 months. And usually I like looking at it for 12 to 18 months. So if you're going in and you're doing something and you're stopping after 3 months, you haven't even had the ability to even evaluate that as a lead source, right? So what's your incubation system? How do you stay in touch with the people who are either unresponsive or they're not ready right now to buy or sell? So what was your total net add to your center of influence from online leads, right? So here we've got this dynamic of, Bill comes in as an online lead, and I talk to Bill, and Bill's moving here from Minnesota, and Bill and I, have a little bit of a friendship, and we start getting to know each other and sending him houses. He's come down here a couple of times. He has now, whether he ends up buying a house from me or not, Bill's a member of my center of influence, right? He's in my sphere now because we've crossed that line of you're no longer an online lead. Now you're somebody that I'm working with or somebody that is now a part of my life, right? So how many net people did you add to your center of influence from online leads in the past 12 months, right? So this is one of those same numbers that we asked about with our mega open houses, right? How many net people are we adding to our center of influence from these different lead sources? So leading indicators versus lagging indicators. So a leading indicator on a lead source is I got 50 leads. That's a leading indicator, right? So this month I got 50 leads. A lagging indicator is I closed 3 sales this month from online leads, right? So because it's a lagging indicator, usually you're not going to get a lead and close it in the same month, right? So you got your leading indicator, how many leads are coming in, what's the follow-up, what are your numbers and percentages there, and then your lagging indicators, how often, how are they closing, how long does it take to close, all these numbers that we churn through as we're collecting and analyzing this data. So what are my leading indicators, what are my lagging indicators, and doing this on a per lead source basis. So, and I'll throw this out. I everybody knows me knows that I like Zillow leads, and here's why. My coaching clients that are spending, and I'll put this out, that are spending significantly with Zillow for leads, and when I say significantly, I'm talking about at least $3,000 to $5,000 a month, are getting close to 7 times ROI on their leads if you look at it on a year-over-year basis. And this is the one area, if I've got somebody that is performing at a high level, they don't have check equity, they don't have sweat equity, they've got check equity. This is the area that I look at as where they can invest more money and get more deals without having to invest much more time, right, in the process. Look at your leading indicators, look at your lagging indicators, so that you have a really good way of being able to analyze your online leads and what you're doing. And then also looking at your ROI per source. So I'm going to throw this out to you. If your average commission, gross commission, if your average gross commission is more than $10,000, which I would hope for all of you it is, then if you're not spending at least $1,000 a month in online leads, you're probably not going to be getting enough leads in to be able to accurately evaluate online leads as a lead source, right? Because if I'm looking at, okay, so if one transaction is $10,000, right? And numbers tell us that we should be getting 7 times ROI, once we're really into it, about 12 to 18 months into it, right? So that means if I'm getting 7 times ROI, that's 7 times what, 1,500, right? So, if I'm not spending 1,500, then how can I expect to be getting 10,000 on a monthly basis or a deal a month for my online leads if I'm not spending that 1,500? Does that make sense? So really look and analyze your ROI per source. One of the things that I find when I go in and I start working with people who are working with online leads, they say, wow, these leads, it just doesn't work. These aren't good leads. And what is very evident to me, just going in and looking at it, just very cursory as a consultant, is you don't have enough leads, right? So you're using, you're using, an inexpensive lead source. And so let's say, your average cost per lead is $1, right? So if your average cost is $1, then you're going to need 1,500 leads a month to create one sale, right? If we're looking at 7 times ROI. If your average lead cost is $100, you're going to need 15 leads a month in order to create a deal, right? Does that make sense? This is math, and this math works in every demographic and with every agent. So if you see that you're not getting 7 times ROI, the first thing I would look at is, have you had enough time to evaluate? The second thing is, what are your scripts like? What is your follow-up system? What is your incubation system? Because usually it's not the quality of the lead that's the problem, it's the quality of the agent. There's also something else. If I'm the problem, I am also the solution. I cannot change the quality of the leads I am getting. I can change where I'm getting them from, but I can't change the quality of leads. I can change the quality of my follow-up system, my incubation, my scripts, and how good I am at doing my job, right? And if I'm not at the top of my game, I'm not going to be evaluating the core 4 and my lead sources, my online leads effectively. Analyze. Okay, so once we've collected all this data, right, we've just got numbers everywhere and pages everywhere and spreadsheets everywhere. What we want to do is we want to look at this with the help of outside eyes. So I'll throw this out to you. Even if you are a consultant, you need a pair of outside eyes to help you analyze the data. So when I'm pulling these things together for my coaching clients, I'm usually sharing them and interacting with other coaches within the network of coaches that I'm in, so that I'm having a fresh pair of eyes looking at the data to see if they're seeing the same things that I'm seeing. So if you're collecting this data and you don't know what it means, reach out to me, reach out to Juan and Bettina, reach out to somebody, the person that invited you to this call. I'd be more than willing to help you out. But don't do it alone. Be brutal. Be brutal. Be so honest within this process, right? This is not a reflection on you as a human being. This is a reflection on your business. And if you are not brutally honest, you're not going to have the improvement that you you need in order to be extremely successful. Next, take your time. Do not start planning until you've finished analyzing. So one of the big mistakes, especially high Ds, Bettina, if you're watching, we've talked about this, right? So high Ds, here's what they do. They start collecting data and they see, because they're real smart, they see, wow, I'm not doing this well in the beginning of the collection of the data process, and they immediately go to implementation, and they're implementing a solution to that problem before they've collected all the data and analyzed data. Take your time. Give yourself a time limit. I like using a week to analyze data, right? And spending time every day analyzing data before I start making a plan. Don't jump ahead. Don't start making plans before you've finished analyzing the data. Because what you're going to do is you're going to end up solving problems that you may not have, and you're going to make some of the key mistakes that I see people make. And I know I'm at the bottom of the hour. I'm going to need to wrap this up. But we end up choosing solutions that don't solve our problems if we haven't taken this process seriously and done this. Now, third thing, and this is the last thing I'm going to say on analyzing, is this is observe, don't judge. Don't get into the game of, wow, I'm not doing this good, or I'm horrible at this. Don't get into that game. Just collect the data, analyze the data as if you were looking at another person. There's a time for you to judge yourself, and we'll get to that. But I wouldn't do that at this point. Next, resources. Make Money Now Facebook group. We talk about these things. I'm going to upload the slides, upload the video to the Make Money Now Facebook group. If you're not a member, ask whoever invited you, or go to Facebook, type in Make Money Now Facebook group, and it'll pop up. If you're not a member, request membership, and I will go ahead and approve you. If you can't find it, just reach out to me. I'm easy to find on Facebook. So if you are an EXP agent, use the resource of Workplace by Facebook, our own private Facebook platform that's created for large businesses like EXP, that Facebook has created for us. It's our own private little Facebook where 25, 30,000 of us can actually interact in that environment, and it is a boon of information and people that you can interact with. So EXP World, we got 50 hours of live training every week. If you're not with EXP, let me know, and I can get you a guest pass so you can play around and take a look at some of our live training that happens in our virtual campus, our cloud campus. So what's next? As always, this is my email address, chris1234weaver@gmail.com. My phone number, this is my Google Voice number, so it forwards everywhere where I am, 469-431-5208. Reach out if you need help in implementing this, or if you've got questions for me. If you don't have a coach, you need a coach, feel free to reach out. I'd love to talk to you about that. Number one, Merry Christmas. I love the holidays. This is like so much fun. Happy Hanukkah. So I was watching CBS Sunday Morning yesterday. I'll say this real quick. This is the coolest holiday ever. It celebrates fried foods. Like, seriously, what can be better than celebrating fried foods? And yeah, sorry to you health freaks out there, but fried foods, especially latkes, they're just amazing. So Freedom 2020. So next Monday in our Make Money Now coaching call, we're going to be starting the building blocks of building our plan for 2020. If you are not planning on having an amazing 2020, you won't have an amazing 2020. So let's collect this data. Let's analyze this data. Let's go into 2020 with a different mindset, with some different practices, some different behaviors, and that will guarantee us improvement and improved results. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you very much. This has been an amazing year. We've got one more call this year, next Monday. I look forward to seeing you all there. Have a great holiday and a great week. And, oops.